Okay, let's talk about a little bit about white blood cells. And the other name for white blood cells are leukocytes. Now, do you remember I told you that per cubic millimeter in of whole blood we have 4 to 5 millions of red blood cells? Look how many we have of white blood cells. Between 5 and 10,000 of cells, of white blood cells. So you can see the relation. If you are looking in the smear uh, of blood, mostly you're gonna see red blood cells and one white blood cell here, another there, another there. Okay, they are not that abundant. What is the function in general? They are defending us from all of them: bacteria, viruses, pathogens, allergens, all of those disgusting things that are trying to make us sick. So they're protecting us from the invasion and infection of microorganisms. Uh, Now, as I'm going to describe them today, they are swimming in the pool of blood. They are circulating in blood. But when they are required and they are in there monitoring, making sure they're passing through the liver, okay, there's no bacteria in there. It happens to that they are passing through the skin of your elbow and they see, well, that you have this, a little scratch in there and there is one bacteria in there. They will get out of the circulation by diapetesis is the name of the movement. They can like squeeze between the endothelial cells of the blood vessel and they go to the tissue, to the connective tissue where the infection or the pathogen is located. So in order to act, they need to go to a tissue. They cannot act from, uh, they're not Rambo, they're walking and firing at the same time. No, they need to go to a tissue, usually connective tissue, to set up, uh, you know, the battle. Now, never let monkeys eat bananas. Never. That's a mnemonic we use to remember the the leukocytes, the white blood cells, in order from the most abundant to the least abundant in blood. Okay, so never let monkeys eat bananas. That means, and these are the 5 types of leukocytes that we have. Neutrophils, never let lymphocytes, monkeys, monocytes eat eosinophils, bananas, basophils. This is a great mnemonic to remember the order of, okay, I should have the most abundant is neutrophil in normal conditions, okay? But I'm going to explain this grouping the um, the leukocytes or white blood cells in two categories. We have a group of these cells, the ones that end in sites, this one and this one. The cell you have the cell, the nucleus. I'm drawing a face, and the cytoplasm looks, uniform. Whereas, and we call, well, whereas the fields, the one that ends in fields, another color, right? Let's get blue. The one that ends in fields, neutrophils, eosinophils, and basophils, we have the cell, we have the nucleus, and we have a lot of granules, little vesicles in the cytoplasm. So the cytoplasm looks grainy, okay? This one looks smooth, this one looks grainy. So we're gonna call these cells granulocytes, and the ones that lack these granules, we're gonna call it a lacking of granules, granulocytes. So granulocytes and agranulocytes. Again, granulocytes are neutrophils, eosinophils, and basophils. Granulocytes are lymphocytes and monocytes. So let's study these cells. Oh, let me go to the other side. Hi. Okay, so I made this chart, so I think it's easier to study these cells like this. We are going to see how each of these cells look like, and I have grouped them in, like as I told you, right? In here we have the fields, so these are the granulocytes, and these ones are the granulocytes, okay? I'm going to show you how these cells look like, the main function, and the amount of the normal amount of these cells in blood, important, this is in the entire blood. And then I'm going to tell you the percentage of these type of cells of all the white blood cells, okay? I'll explain that in for each cell. So let's start with the neutrophils, and they're called neutro because the granules, remember all of this, let's make, well, all in, sorry, all in black. All of these cells have granules, remember? All of these cells have granules in the cytoplasm, okay? And these granules are going to color, or they're going to get the dye, the stain that we use to color these cells, to look them under the microscope. So depending on the color they're picking up, we are going to call them neutrophils, eosinophils, or basophils, okay? So neutrophils, they look like this, like this, okay? Look at the nucleus. The nucleus, we call it, there is multi-lobe, which means that you have the nucleus in here, and then it has like another, it has like several parts. It can have up to 5 portions, 5 lobes, the nucleus, okay? And look at the granulations. These granules are, they're not red, they're not blue, they're purple. They're right in the middle, and they're thin granules. Those are your neutrophils. These cells are, remember, never let monkeys eat bananas. These are the most numerous type of white blood cells. So of the white blood cells, they are the most numerous. 50 to 70% of all the white cells are neutrophils, okay? Now, when you measure the absolute amount, the number of neutrophils in a millimeter, cubic millimeter of blood, we are going, the normal range goes from 3 to 7,000 cells. Okay, so what do these cells do? Those are the first, they're the fastest cells. They're the first to get there when we have an infection or potential infection or inflammation. They are, when they're cold, they're the first to arrive. And the main function of these cells, I want you to think in bacteria. That's what they mostly attack, bacteria. They phagocyte bacteria. Remember what phagocytosis is? When the cell eats, right? So the cell eats, this neutrophil eats, digests by bacteria, and do funny things with those bacteria inside the cytoplasm. Empties all of those granules in here, have cytotoxic and toxins for the bacteria, and destroy those bacteria. So those are the neutrophils. Let's see how the eosinophils look like. Now, in this one, usually I'm going to put it red, and I'm going to tell you why. Okay, the nucleus is bilobed usually, so I think it's easier like that. Okay, we're gonna have 2 lobes in this, the nucleus of these cells. And the granules are kind of red in this, and there's a lot of granules in here. And these are granules that are going to break down inflammatory substances like bradykinin, histamine, and other pro-inflammatory substances. Now, what do? They attack parasites and also all of those nasty, disgusting allergens that produce allergies, dust particles, and you name it. And they're involved in ending these allergic reactions. Okay, so those are the eosinophils. Look that we have of all the white blood cells, only 2 or 4% of white blood cells are eosinophils, so they're not that common. In 1 cubic millimeter of blood, we have 100 to 400 cells. Now, basophils, and I'm gonna put it blue because that's the color of the stain that they get. I'm gonna draw the nucleus, but you're gonna see that this cytoplasm has so many granules, and these granules are pretty big and thick and blue, that the same color as the nucleus, that doesn't let us see pretty well the nucleus. Okay, so it's something like that. That's your basophil. Let me show you. That's a basophil. See, look at the cytoplasm filled with those granules, blue granules, and we can barely see in there the nucleus. Okay, this is the least. Remember, what is the thing? Never let monkeys eat bananas. This is the least common type of white blood cell in circulation. Account for only 0.5 to 1% of all the white blood cells. 20 to 50 flowing in there, so it's really hard to find unless we have an inflammatory process, because that's when they get activated. That's when they reproduce, or not reproduce, they're producing more amount, an increased amount. So they mediate inflammation. They produce inflammation. And what is inflammation? Is that reaction of your body against usually an invasion of a pathogen or any other or another type of injury, and it produces, it releases some substances, including bradykinin, histamine. You maybe are familiar to that. When you take an antihistamine, you stop this inflammatory process. See? So what it does is that it vasodilates blood vessels, and it brings more blood to the area. So to bring more white blood cells to the area to fight the potential infection that we have in there. So increasing the blood flow in here, we're making the area red and hot to the touch, is swollen, so is another characteristic of inflammation. And the presence of this extra liquid irritates the nerve endings, the sensory nerve endings of the nociceptors, and that produces pain. So those are the 4 elements of inflammation. Pain, a tumor, which is the swollen area, is red and is hot. And all of that is mediated by the granules inside. They have histamine of these basophils. Okay, the next type of cells. Those are only the 3 granulocytes that we have. Remember, the other ones are agranulocytes, meaning that they have no granules in the cytoplasm. Look how they look like. Let's start with the monocytes. And the monocytes are gigantic cells. Look at that. It wasn't on purpose that I chose that picture. So look at the nucleus. We call the nucleus, or we describe that nucleus as a kidney shaped. something like this, right? And they're big cells. Whenever they, remember, they're flowing the blood, whatever. Let me see what is in here. When they find or they moved into or migrate into a tissue, they become a microphage. And hopefully you're saying, I remember macrophages. Macrophages are, remember we described them in connective tissue? These are the engulfing cells, the cells that, phagocytic cells that love to eat uh, um, whatever they find in the way, of course, a pathogen. So we have 3 or 8% of all the white cells are monocytes, and only 100 and 700 of the uh, blood cells. So we have in 1 cubic millimeter of blood, we have 100 or 700 of cells, monocytes, I'm sorry. And the last type is my avocado. These are the lymphocytes. For me, it looks like, when you cut an avocado and it has only, and I'm gonna put it green so you remember my avocado. It has the big seed and only a little bit of halo of avocado right here in the periphery. Okay, and this is your big seed. You have brown. No brown. Oh, okay, let me do it brown, black. And this is your nucleus. Okay, that is a lymphocyte, a gigantic, enormous nucleus. This is a pretty small cell, okay, with a big nucleus and a tiny little cytoplasm surrounding that big nucleus. You know lymphocytes, right? They usually, okay, they are the second most common type of white blood cells. So first, the neutrophil, second, the lymphocyte. Never let monkeys eat bananas. Okay, so 25 to 45% of all the white blood cells are lymphocytes. In one cubic milliliter of blood, we have 15 to 30 cells, lymphocytes in this amount of blood. So what do? They, as the other cells, see, they attack, like the dogs. Go, attack. They attack neutrophils, any kind of bacteria. It's a bacteria. Eosinophil, it's a parasite. Basophils, well, mast cells. They deliver, the inflammatory agents. And monocytes, they can eat pretty much anything. Lymphocytes are this is the elite group. This is the SWAT group. These, we have two populations, the T cells and the B cells. The T cells, they are called the natural killers. They are the karate cells. They engage into a fight with the pathogen. But the B cells, they transform into plasma cells in here, and they secrete antibodies, and they create like a memory, an immune memory in your body, and it create an arsenal, of guns, different ammo for different type of bacteria or viruses. Actually, they mostly react to viruses. For example, varicella. The varicella, you are exposed to varicella. We are exposed to varicella virus. We build immunity. Now we have the vaccine, right? Let me put another example that we don't have a vaccine for. Any flu virus, okay? You get exposed to the flu virus, you get sick, but at that time the B cells are forming antibodies to fight that flu virus. And it remains in your memory for almost all your life. Whenever you get, you face again the same virus, it cannot be other flu virus. It has to be specifically that type of flu virus. You're gonna destroy, and you're not gonna get sick because you already have that in the memory. You're not gonna waste time forming, all the things that are needed to kill that virus. You already have them in your storage, in your immune storage in there, and you just need to take them up, shoot them, and that's it. But the thing is that there's a lot of flu viruses around there. So not such a good example, but we've used varicella, polio, other examples that we have less type of viruses for these infections. That would be a cool example. Well, I hope you understood that. Now it's time to move on into platelets. See you.